Okay, I want to do a little bit of video here following up to my last video. I want to update the West Russia Jam, the game with the potential switch to a 2 Ocean, and a little more detail on the turnledger software that I've used on this one game in particular. So the really fast is the fact that we are now 12-1, so the game that I had highlighted about switching to a 2 Ocean is now over, and it's the same game that I was doing that turnledger software on. So that's where we're at. So we do have a win here. I'm going to show the game first, the game state at least currently first. I didn't even look to see what. So he was a pretty decent, pretty good. 21-5 is Axis. That's really quite well. So good win, good victory. All right, let's get back to the game itself though. So how it ended, it was still in a contested state in all purposes. However, I won Baltic a little bit heavy with UK, so I went ahead and threw a USAA in there. And, you know, he did his trades. He traded here, he traded here. This one hadn't been run yet. And then, obviously, it appears he was doing this. I'm guessing my AA probably hit. He had 3 fighters going in there and 2 infantry. And I'm guessing my AA must have hit at least once, maybe 2 or 3 times. Of course, the combat log doesn't get to that point. It doesn't show it. But, you know, I can see what all, you know, he did move. And so we can see the other battles. These two, this one was successful. This one, we got a hit back. This one hadn't been done. This one is in process, is my guess. And the fact that he quit, I'm sure we got some wins there. We were in a pretty good state overall when you look at the board state. I created this little mini stack to limit Jay's grabbing money. At the same time, we were combating face-to-face on a Kazakh stack, and I've been keeping a minimal India force. And this is a part of the storyline, is the whole India. For a while there, I was just leaving 3 infantry where he could take it, but it would have put him out of position, and my Russian tanks were sitting here, so I could have traded back. After round 9, I think it was. We'll see when we get to the turnledger. I started mini stacking it, you know, actually having it actually be a little bit stacked there. So this was the one that we had talked about. I was talking about bringing the U.S. Navy through, but that was a while back, a few rounds back. The time I was thinking about it, I did move here to 15. I took Italy with the 1 and left 1 infantry here. Well, he used his bombers and he killed my infantry, so that slide to DEI was no longer a option. Plus, the fleet that he had moved out, I think he was like out here and here or something like that, he pulled back into 61 that turn, so it really wasn't an option until this later turn of events. In which case, again, he was still trying to find ways to get to Pearl, and I was creating headaches for him, making it hard for him. So eventually he did get to Pearl in round 10 of Jay's turn, and Alaska at the same time, and East Australia at the same time. And then he put a little bit of pressure this way towards Africa. But that put his fleet out of zone. I had been working, U.S. infantry were coming in through Karelia. I made a couple go down, work through West Russia down to Kaza, and it timed out just right that the 2 came through here, where even though I was bailing on those 2 instead of making another trade there, I was ready to put pressure on him while his fleet was out of range. We still had 4 UK airplanes. We could have dropped a couple UK transports as well. Air carriers, and maybe a transport to take Borneo, while U.S. took DEI. So we were ready to start creating some headache for Japan, in addition to the stalemate that's been sitting here at Kaza for a while. So that's the state of the game and how it ended up ending. And my West Russia Jam continues at this point. We'll see if we can get one more game in. It's getting kind of late to where people will start stalling, so I don't know if we'll get another game in. I do have a game going that I just made a major blunder in. It should have been a win. When you look at the game, it should be a win. And I just made a stupid blunder that I may have just tossed it in the bag. So we may have ruined my run on a blunder rather than a loss due to the jam. But anyways, I'm going to pull over the turnledger here, and I may toggle back and forth back to the map as well. So again, I have found this very, very interesting. Some of it's really, really good. Some of it's excellent, to be honest. Some of it's I'm not so sure yet on. But overall, I've really been pleased with the software just for data. I do like one of the things, I haven't checked to see what out exactly it is, but somewhere or another I remember seeing you can export the data from the campaign out. I forget where that was. I know I've seen it somewhere, but you can export it. As he says, it's your data anyways. So I'd be curious to see what it exports into. That's one thing I have not done. Also, I have not hit and campaigned yet because I don't know what happens when I do that. This is the game that I was just showing. So, going piece by piece here, yeah, it's giving you a constant. Now, it does the attack power with the artillery acting as if they're paired with an infantry. I believe there was somewhere or another where you could change the setting so it does attack power like the game does it, but I don't want it that way. I want it this way where the artillery get their bonus for the infantry, because most time artillery are going to be paired with them. As you can see, you can click on there and you can toggle between them of what's been happening round by round on the game. You can edit it from that screen as well. But there you got your rundown. You got the victory horizon prediction. I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this as I tell a little bit more of the story of the game. But really, this is where the fun really starts. This is where I really like it. I love having the graphs showing round by round. I mean, who doesn't like a line graph? Come on. If you don't like line graphs, I don't know what's wrong with you. But anyways, showing the round by round as things go. This is currently, you got the toggle here where you can do it by income. So the green line showing the income. It always has the attrition. So that's, the differences in the battle win and loss IPC of units. And then the net advantage as it's happened over time, over turn. You can toggle that green line to be this is IPC for the round net, including IPC advantage and attrition, I believe. I haven't really fully went into the details of that, but then certainly purchases are purchases, pretty straightforward. Truthfully, the blue line is what's really interesting to me. I like the income line. I like this one because I understand that a little bit better. What kind of income advantage I have turn by turn. So I like that. This is the way I like it. But those other ones I'm sure are mean more to other people as well. Now, the important this is this round for this part. So when you're looking at the income advantage, attrition advantage, this is round 11. Only the Russian turn's been added in, and I didn't make any attacks, so that's why there's no attrition change. So that's just this round. Down here is how the whole campaign has looked in regards to all of these as well. I'm thinking IPC of units maybe on the board. Again, I haven't fully checked that, but again, I like income. They go hand in hand. Obviously, they're very, very similar stats when you look at them. They're all very economic driven, which is what this platform is driven off of, which is very smart because it is, as most people know, that it's a war game, but it's an economic game. So you can see my attrition advantage. Most rounds they were getting the better, but the income advantage just continued to escalate. I continued to just steadily grow. And so this is the net over time. So this isn't round by round. This doesn't mean that I had an income advantage of 149 in round 7. It means in round 7, since the start of the game, I've had an income advantage of 149 and a total attrition loss of 37. So my income advantage was going up faster than the attrition advantage was going down. And that's where the net comes in, right? The net's the in between. It is putting those combined. And so I had a nice steady going up through the time. And I really like this cumulative. That's what the word I was looking for. Cumulative income advantage and cumulative attrition advantage or disadvantage as it is in my campaign. Income by nation obviously is nice, just straightforward information there. And makes sense. Germany slowly came down. Japan was trying to work its way up. U.S. kind of was up and down, bumpy. Same with UK, Russia. Actually, Russia stayed pretty good. Normally, you'd start seeing the Russia start tail down a little bit here, and I think that's part of the advantage I had. Losses. So they've lost 449 IPC worth of units in Germany. Woo! We lost 295 in UK. Boo. But pretty straightforward there. And then these are the graphs that personally I really like. And this is the power advantage. I like attack power and defense power, so, and of course my attack strength and defense strength, which he's worked into this app, which I really appreciate. But first off, you got the toggles up here. So here's your attack power. You can see, in the beginning, the first 2 rounds, of course, Germany, Axis is using advantage. And then our economy just slowly let us gain the units to build up. And then the same thing down here by nation. You can see, again, something significant happened in round 6. We talked about that before. But we're going to talk about the other bumps here in a second. And then, of course, defense power as well. I like the defense power because to me, that's as meaningful as attack power, but in its own way, because it's going to tell you how well you're going to be defending, especially in a KGF. The Germany defense power is important, and of course, the Russian defense power, plus a little bit of the US and UK, depending on what you're using for units in there, are getting to it. And then, of course, matchup. This is where it switches to the attack strength. So attack strength, defense strength, using that formula of 2 units plus attack power, 2 units plus defense power to create that number. I love that he toggled it where you can add the different things. So I've got it currently set where it's all 3 of my allies. Attack strength versus both of his defense, just get an overall whole game state. So it's a delta of 9. Right now I have Navy turned off. I love the fact that he added the fact that you could choose between Army, Air, and Navy, because that actually does mean more than I gave it credit to. Because in a KGF, Navy doesn't really matter a whole lot. At KJF, Navy's going to be much more important. So I'll be looking at the Air and Navy in a KJF, but in KGF, Navy's not really all that critical. Army and Air, that's where it's at. So, and then you got right down here, I really like this, that you can just look and you can see the units, specificity of what units you're talking about in here. So when I'm on offense, we're at -9. I like doing this. Now, it's interesting. You obviously, you shouldn't be able to add Axis and allies together. Small thing, but we'll switch it. So when Axis is doing the attacking, they're at a 164 negative versus my 9 negative. So again, overall, my attack strength, allies' attack strength, is getting ready to overwhelm their defense strength as just a big picture quicker than they are doing the reverse. So really, really like that information. And of course, graphs are always beautiful things. So, so a lot of great information here. I haven't used everything. I was going to come here to the command brief. This I find to be fun, but I'm not. The data's. I ran it right now as the game state is as it is, so it's already run. It takes a minute or two. I like this. The little nuances, like the little top secret button, and then some of the verbiage that he uses. I like how it talks through it. I'm sure it's some sort of AI variation that's creating it off of the information inputted into it. But allies retain an economic advantage, but are bleeding value in combat because we are trading at a negative value. And so they're saying short us from cheap victory city holding defenses now while forcing high value Axis losses later. It's telling me, our industry, that we are winning the industry, but it doesn't see the game coming to an end in sight, although it just did. And this is something, obviously, like I said, it doesn't have the German play and whatever happened on that AA gun built into it. So the orders, this is where I've run this. You can run this brief anytime during the campaign, and it gives you a little bit. I find it entertaining to read. I enjoy it because I just like how it reads, but I find myself at odds with a lot of the the advice that it gives per se. So it said, I just bought 6 infantry and artillery this time. So this was a prudent defensive spend that secures territory cheaply, but the artillery ratio remains low for offensive follow through. Well, that's true, but in this game, when you look at it, I did lose my Russian fighters. I was mainly just trying to use stacks to hold ground So defensive value was the key to me. Cheap defensive units is what I was trying to do, and moving my tanks around, and trying and get enough artillery to trade when we need to, but using the UK and the US to do the trading here. So Russia, I really wasn't looking for anything. I was buying the occasional artillery just so that they can hold themselves up, but really they were defensive. There was nothing to be for offensive for them. Expect German pressure. German holds 31 IPC is an active threat this turn with 55 infantry and 3 air units. I'm not sure why it has 3 air units, because they actually had 6, if I remember. They had 3 bombers and 3 fighters. Anticipate concentrated infantry assaults and tactical bomber fighter support aimed at forcing trains. That makes sense, right? You know, that's what Germany's going to do. They're going to use low infantry and high air for trade, trying to be as efficient as they can. Prepare to absorb attacks on VC adjacent positions. This is where I start to, the limitation I think of this is it can't actually see the board, right? It can only take the information that's given to you, including those key territories that it lets you input in, which I didn't show that, but there's certain territories that it marks as key, including the victory seas as well as a few others. So it's trying to formulate the game as best as it can. But when you look at this game, yes, Axis at 7 of 9. They had parole already. I'm really not in any sort of VC threat since Karelia is open and they're not going anywhere near Karelia anytime soon, as well as Moscow. So Victory City really is not important at this point in the game. It is, Victory Cities are important obviously in the game, but at this stage in the game, it's just not. But the program can't see that, and that's a limitation. That there's nothing that the developer can do about that per se, until there comes a point when maybe you can put in screenshots and AI can read the units and the territories off of screenshots. I don't know. I'm not a developer. I don't know where AI is going and all that sort of bit, and if that's a thing that could happen or not. Of course, it would be a lot better if Beamdog made it where the the war diary could just be exported, because then then the computer could just calculate. It's got what territories changed hands, and it knows. So that would be the best thing, is that if they could export the war diary. But again, that's not turnledger's fault. That's a Beamdog thing. So I think they've done a really great job with what they can do, but it limits their ability to give information because they can't see the board. It doesn't see what the board looks like, and the board can tell a little bit different than what economy says. But then again, it comes down here. UK should spend 35 IPC on 2 fighters and 5 infantry. This is where it's getting very specific. Which again, when it can't see the board, that's tough to say. But to raise local air parity and cheaply strengthen VC defenses. Again, I'm not really worried about Victory Cities. It's not a bad buy. I'm not going to argue that that's not a bad buy. 5 infantry though, when I've got room for 6 on my boats, I always try to max out my transports of ground. So I would want at least 6 infantry plus 3 down here. So I would always put in, the first thing I would put is 9 infantry in, right? I need base units. I need 3 ground for India and 6 for there. That would leave 8 IPC. From the 8 IPC, then I would say, okay, well, if I gave up 1 ground, I could get a fighter. So if I gave up the ground down here and put a fighter down here, so I did 2 infantry and a fighter, and then I could do 5 and then artillery up here with that remaining IPC. But again, it can't see the board, so it doesn't know that I need 6 here and 3 here per se. So it's not a bad thing. It's just, again, it would not be the ideal one per se. Economic health, this is all pretty straightforward and right on. The trading ratio of 0.89, I'm good. I think that's a good trading ratio in a KGF for allies. My ratio is, if I kill 3 German infantry for every 4 allies infantry, then I'm winning, because 3 German infantry is the equivalent of 3 German infantry is the equivalent of 12 defense strength, and 4 allies infantry is equivalent of 12 attack strength. So a 4-to-3 ratio I'm happy with. I guess that would be a point, that comes to 0.75. I'm not sure exactly how he calculates that out, but so maybe 0.75 or something like that is what I would be comfortable with. So I'm good. I think that's a good trade ratio for my intents and purposes. Allies collectively produced 106 to 78, and I mean, it goes down into pretty straight ideas here. Build low-cost defensive units, which is true. And then I like this verbiage: reserve some for targeted strike assets. I just like the verbiage. I find it, even though I don't necessarily agree with the suggestions being made, I like the verbiage. I like the fun. I just find it fun to read. I guess that's the way to put it. And then this history tab is probably, this is one of my other favorite ways of looking at it, because I can just see round by round. The territory is a key territory IPC advantage, and then number of victory seeds. These two don't mean a whole lot to me until I'm really at a threat, but this shows me by round what my economic advantage was, and numbers, which is, maybe you're a number person and you don't like line graphs as much, and the attack power change. Down here in the little, he's got the cumulative attrition, so he had attrition by round. He's got this cumulative attrition. I kind of would like to see that just be a column. He's got a lot of space left on this grid. I'd like to see cumulative attrition and cumulative income that he has in these over here. He's got that data over on this graph, that cumulative income and cumulative attrition. I would like to see that just be on this history table too, maybe, so that for those that like numbers, you can see them right here. Because right here, what I like doing here is I can see, okay, round 3, something significant happened. Round 1 is round 1, whatever. Round 3, something significant happened. Round 6, bloodbath at 333 IPC, something significant happened. It was overall slightly in their favor, it looks like. But we also took the AP lead. So although IPC valued the losses favored them, our attack power took the advantage. And then we can see round 9, something significant happened. So I like taking that. So 3, 6, and 9. And then, I can come back over here. We can go, okay, so what happened in round 3? Let's see, round 3. That's pretty straightforward. We attacked Archangel, Karelia, Ukraine. And this is where it was, the big thing is he had little mini stacks, so that wasn't much. But we killed 4 infantry and an AA in Karelia, and then 4 infantry in Ukraine, and we only lost 1 unit in doing that. Now, of course, they came back around and retook Karelia and Ukraine and killed my 3 and 1 and my 2 and 3 and only lost 3 infantry. So that was a fairly equal trade. The big move, and I imagine this happens in every game, there's going to be that time where the German battleship and transport was killed. So that was 27 IPC worth of units, and I only lost a sub in killing them. So there was a 21 shift right there alone. So I think the combination of the little mini stacks that crushed of German infantry plus the German battleship being lost was the main event that led to that. Round 6, that goes back to when I pinned his units and he had to attack Karelia, and that was that big battle in Karelia. He got a top 20% result on it, but it's still, even with the top 20%, y'all saw the attack power still went up for me. And then round 9, this is where, again, the limitation comes. Burma had to send 2 infantry, 1 tank, 2 bombers, and 5 fighters. And I was attacking 5 infantry and a tank. And I killed the 5 infantry and a tank, but I took heavy losses there. The idea was that I may lose 1 bomber. Instead, I lost 3 air. And all that was to preserve India at the time. So it was costly. Again, he had another top 15% result. That was very costly. And you can see it in that software, but it saved India. And so at the end of the day, the board position was really good there, even though, the graph on that round 9 really dropped because of that attrition hit, because I lost my bombers there. It looks bad, and it dropped me from looking really good back to an even game. But at the point, I actually looked at it and go, okay, that just saved my game and kept I would have had my graph still going up here, maybe a level for a turn and then going. But again, the game can't see the board. Same thing with, it's interesting, round 5 and round 9 were both rounds where I made sacrificial moves to set up the board for going forward, which again you can see in round 5. It went down in round 5 as far as what they thought because it was a negative value, speaking in terms of economy, but it set the board up in position where I was ready to grow quickly. Same thing in 9. It was a bad value battle, but it set me up, and you can see that it's picking up too, and they can see that it's picking back up. So I don't, again, 100% agree with how this is done, but I don't know how they could do it better without having actual shots of the board, because it was a board position type of move. So overall, I love all of these graphs. I love this, the table and the history. I think you could add those 2 columns and make it even better. But you can go back and edit the rounds, by the way, if you made a mistake from here too, which is cool. The data entry, he made the data entry better. I'm just going to show this, where it's just this table. So now I don't have to toggle back in and out of the different ones, and I can just have my war diary up in one side, and just add in the adds and the losses and update the incomes right there. So this is a wonderful data entry. Again, these are key territories that helps the game tell the story a little bit, I guess. And then you can add in your SBRs down there. So here we go. We're going to hit end campaign, see what that says, what that does. It was a victory for us. Campaign ended in victory. Unlocked 4 new achievements. I'm not sure what the achievements are yet, but new intel unlocked. Request after action report. So, okay, so we still have access to all the information, so I could have gone ahead and done this earlier, I guess, and previewed this, but still have action to, activity, everything. If you goofed, it looks like you can reactivate it, so if you made a goof, you could check that out. Can I click on this? Oh, overwhelming victory, win with 200 plus net economic. Nice, okay. Strategic patience. Win after being down attack power for 5 consecutive rounds. Well, I guess the beginning was that way. Maybe a lot of my games start that way. Win, but take more total losses than the opponent. Okay. I may be a bit of on the aggressive side. Win without attrition advantage, going negative for more than 3 consecutive rounds. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, that's fun. I like that. After action report. Let's see what the after action report has to say. These can take a moment. Even the little small touches, compiling, declassified. I like what he's done with just little touches like that, with the verbiages and the looks. Kudos to the developer on this. Those small touches make a difference. So, again, strengths, great. Just data collection, spitting it out. I look forward to getting a couple campaigns loaded and having histories put in there. I kind of hope that maybe it'll allow it where you can sort your campaigns. Like if I've got 20 games in there, campaigns recorded, and I've got 8 KGF wins, that it could give. I could select, give me just the KGF wins averages, or put a high and low. Give me my KGF wins averages versus my KGF loss averages, and see where, if it will give me kind of boundaries that I want to make sure I'm within those boundaries, or closer to the high boundary, obviously, or KJF or 2 oceans and that sort of stuff. So I kind of hope that'll be a possibility in the future when you get enough data for your averages. Again, this was my first one, and what I'm talking about there is in the war room on those graphs, it'll develop an average line once you've got some history in it. Okay. Industrial dominance and mid-campaign masterstroke. Tactical success into strategic victory. Nice. Grinding. Turning points. Oh, yep, here we go. Cool. So round 3, Allied Northern and Italian offenses. Accompanying the capture of Norway and Italy. Yeah. So that was cool. Widening Allied operational space, around cost versus He lost 16 infantry and 1 battleship. So yeah, that's very accurate. Nice. Axis tactical rebound. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. But certainly it probably did slow things down. And then round 10, attritional pickup. Yeah, Japan lost 10 infantry. It was interesting that turn. Sustained industrial superiority wins wars when combined with timely, high-value tactical blows. That are, I like. I just like. It's great how it pulls the verbiages together. It's fun. The set of allies opened the campaign with the economic advantage, but ceded early board presence to Axis forces. That's kind of normal. Strategic thesis was clear. Use superior production to absorb costly exchanges and rebuild combat power while pulling Axis franks. Production, not single battles, was the primary lever. Very well. That's very all true. Was a tactical masterstroke. That was trapping his units in Finland that it doesn't know. Inflicted 160 IPC of Axis losses, including 5 artillery, 2 fighters, 15 infantry, and 10 tanks, and a single crushing engagement. I like it. Even as Allied formations paid a heavy price, this blow shattered significant elements. This is very, very accurate. Very nice. Very nice. I didn't look at what there's one. Decisive factors, superior rising and touch. Yeah, we know that. Near miss, inconsistent trade efficiency, and high volatility. It's not like how I trade. Okay, fair enough. So, very, very interesting. Right now, I'm on the. I definitely recommend it for the data and the graphical input. I know he's continuing to work on the suggestions and the mission orders. You know, they may not be perfect. This actually is a very. I like this campaign narrative, and it actually hit some. It's pretty accurate on the turning points and the information. So very interesting, very good. I kudos him on this one. So, in any case, it was turnledger.com if you're interested. And you'll probably see me using it. I'll probably use this as updates in some of my future games. So, all right.